Welcome to the third and final part of our WHIMSY cue. We're going to mix and master this now. I will try and later on remember to get my head out of the way so you can see the entire part of the template where I am currently sitting. First thing to do, I have listened through to the track and I'm going to go through each instrument and put EQ on, specifically in places that I know I don't want it. So a lot of this will involve taking out the low end because I don't want that to build up, and also the mids you want to be careful with. Too many instruments with mid sounds, not particularly helpful, and also when you're putting it over dialogue, these sort of mid frequencies round here are where the vocal range is. So again, you don't want build up there if it's going over a TV show with dialogue in it. So I'm going to do these one at a time and I'll come back when I've finished the EQs. Right, so if you look at the EQs in the mixer, we've gone through and added our general EQ settings. The next thing I'm going to go through and do is any automation that I want, and I'm going to do it in the tracks area before we get into the stems. Remember, we're going to be combining multiple instruments into stems, so we want to do the automation in the tracks area before we bounce them down. The one that's standing out to me actually is the Glock at the end, which I think I'm going to have to bring down. I'll be back when I've done that. Okay, so the only automation I did was actually on that Glock line. Everything else you'll notice I have actually mixed, so I have set the faders at volumes that work well together, and I sort of did that as I was going along and composing, because you can sort of hear it as these things build up, and it's quite nice to just get a feel for mixing as you go, and then it saves you a whole lot of time at the end. And it's really helpful that you don't build up extra frequencies without realizing it, or one instrument gets overshadowed. So by constantly having the mix level in your conscious thinking, composing brain, that really helps. Now, the next thing I need to do, we are going to turn off automation and we are going to label things up and color code them. Now remember, this is where I start unhiding the reverbs and the stems. I've got 6 stems here at the moment. Remember, we can add more if we need them. And when I'm color coding, I'm aiming to get to about 6 stems in general. I think this will probably be okay because we've got things like strings, melody instruments, and percussion. So back when I've done that. Okay, so I've colored and named everything. By having the 6 stems ready to go and the 6 reverbs that go with them, it kind of forces you into thinking, how do I get these into 6 separate groups? So I've put the piano and the strum guitar together because the piano really supports the strum guitar at the end, and you'd probably want to take them both out. Then I've got marimba and xylophone because they are doubling each other. If you take one out, you probably want to take out the other. I'm going to call that melody. Then the Glock and the salad bowl, I'm going to call that harmony. The flutes, viola and cello, I'm just going to put as orchestral. So you take them out as a whole chunk. Admittedly, if a library comes back to you and says, actually, I want to just take that flute out, you could come back to your session and remove the flute. And I've got the bass on its own because percussion and bass stem is frequently asked for. So you'd need to have a bass and a percussion one, which is the last one there, the damage high loops. So what I'm going to do is get myself out of the way for this next bit so you can see what's going on in the mixer. What I need to do is put sends to each of the reverbs that correlate to the one they are in. So this is going to go to reverb 1. So we're doing this in color code order pretty much. Those two both have to go to reverb 1 and their output has to be set to stem 1. And I will go through and rename these two melody, bass, percussion, and so on. Nice and easy. I'll come back when I've finished that. And there you go. I've labelled everything. So reverb, string and piano, also stem, string and piano. Everything is routed to the right place there. If I play this at the moment, we won't hear anything, even though you can see the levels going up for the tracks. Because remember, we need to put things into input monitoring on the stems so that sound comes out. And I also now need to go through and put the amount of reverb that I want on each one. So this should be a fairly quick process. All I'm going to do is turn up the send level to suit the track, and all I'm going to do is do it on the busiest section. So this will be at the end. We'll just turn on that cycle region, keep playing it, and solo each of the instruments. So solo the piano, start this playing, and then I can slowly bring in the amount of room that I want in there. For this track, I'm probably not going to have it particularly roomy. We want it quite dry and up front, which suits most of the instruments. Okay, I'll see you when I've turned the reverb up to levels I like. Okay, so while adjusting the different reverb levels here, I also decided to pan the viola and the cello to each side so that we get a bit more width in the sound field. Now all I need to do is turn off cycle mode. We are going to take the stems out of input monitoring, put them in record mode, go back to the beginning, hit record, and it will create our stems with reverb for us automatically. This is the fun bit. See you in a sec. There we go, all done. And remember to keep recording until well after everything has died out. We are going to automate our stereo out to finish the track when we want it to end. So we come out of record mode now. We can put a cycle range on across the whole track. I know I left that going a bit longer. And what we can do is make sure all the instruments are now muted so that when we play it back, just want a fraction of a second before the instruments start. That'll be fine. And for the output, what we do is show the output track for the stereo out. I like to put a MIDI region in to remind me there's some automation about to go in here. Let's zoom in, just put in a nice little automation fade here to make sure everything is out. We'll put it on a curve and just check that. Lovely. So we now know where the end of our automation is going to be. It's nice and neat when everything finishes at the end of a bar. Come out of automation mode. We've got our cycle region over the exact area we want to master. All I'm going to do is turn on the Mastering Assistant, see what it does, and see you in a second. So you can see what the Mastering Assistant has done there. Sounds quite nice. I'm going to play it to you as a bit of an outro. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, always appreciated. I hope you found it useful. Comments welcome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.